to April's edition of Farm Show TV. By now, you may have all heard the news. Canada's Farm Show 2021 is returning this year. However, there's a twist. It's going virtual. It'll be held over 2 days on June 16th and 17th, and we have so much information to share with you about that, and that'll be later on in the show, so let's get started. Joining us on this month's episode of Farm Show TV, Mr. Tim Reid himself, President and CEO of Regina Exhibition Association Limited, to talk about Canada Farm Show 2021, the virtual event. We'll also check in with Andrew from farms.com, who's going to give us the latest and greatest news when it comes to the ag industry. We'll also be chatting with AgriStability's Ray Greneveld, who's with the Saskatchewan Crop Insurance Corporation, to let us know about some changes that have been announced when it comes to AgriStability. And last but certainly not least, Leslee Kelly. You may know her as High Heels and Canola Fields on social media. She is the co-founder of Do More Ag and will talk to us about the importance of mental health and the ag industry. Stay tuned. Well, it's the moment we've all been waiting for to get the details of Canada Farm Show 2021 and what we can expect from this year's show. Joining us in studio is Tim Reid, President and CEO of Regina Exhibition Association Limited, also the one basically handling the decisions when it comes to Farm Show. Is that fair?
I don't know about that. We're pretty fortunate in the fact that we've got a big committee that helps us out of some of the best producers and manufacturers kind of guiding the vision. And I can't thank them enough for helping us get to the decisions that we made. And, it's not a live show. It's not what we love and it's not what we're used to, but it's certainly better than a cancellation. And we're really excited because it maintains the relevance of the show and it connects people and provides an innovation and education experience, which is exactly what we need at these times, probably more than ever.
For sure. And I want to touch on, obviously, last year we had to make the unfortunate decision to cancel Farm Show during the global pandemic that we're still seeing affect many of us across the globe. What was the shift or what was the decision behind going virtual and doing it this way?
Well, obviously, our hope was always to do a traditional show. And for over 40 years, we've been able to host Farm Show. And it's really been a driver for the local visitor economy. And we recognize it's important to us, but we also recognize that it fills hotel rooms, it fills restaurants, and it brings trade to the Regina and Southern Saskatchewan region, which is so important. Now, above all that, it generates hundreds of million dollars of GDP for our province. And we wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity to continue those business and those transactions. And so by going virtual, we allow our manufacturers, our producers to still get in touch with their clients. We're all doing things a little bit different. And so no, it's not what we wanted. But credit to the committee and to our board of directors who said we do have to find a path forward for Farm Show. We can't go multiple years without an event, and virtual was the best option.
So what can people expect? I know we've talked a little bit earlier about how the program is going to be kind of released weekly, but what can you tell us that people can expect from the virtual show?
I think at the end of the day, it's going to be very similar to what you'd experience in live. Unfortunately, the challenge is going to be we're all going to be disconnected and physically distanced and all the things that we need to be these days, but we're still going to have an opportunity to have some of the fantastic keynote speakers, some of the guest speakers that we've had. We're going to have the discussion panels of leaders in the agriculture industry. We're going to talk about innovation in the industry through our farm talks, and we're going to talk about new technologies. We're going to have an opportunity to connect with the global supply market and work through the province and how we provide an opportunity for our local manufacturers, our producers, to get access to a world that is very different now than it was even a couple years ago. So all those core elements that you would traditionally see are still going to be there. Just not as much fun, shiny equipment that we can all stare at, and probably not nearly as many swag bags as you'd walk away with in an average year.
Hey, you know what? At least there's still the opportunity to connect, and I know we've talked about it before, but why was this so important to be able to still provide something to the exhibitors and partners?
We've talked about Farm Show changing for the last number of years, and we realized that the way we do business is different today than it has been for the last 40 years. We're connected differently, we're connected digitally, and we have been probably for a decade. I think COVID-19 has just shone a light on the fact that we have to be even better. And so why it was so important was we have some of the best agricultural leadership on the planet. And the reality of it is we talk about food security and food sustainability. Those are items where Saskatchewan can play such a vital role. It's a place where Regina just positions so well in the global scheme of agricultural. And I think the ability to make sure that we contact our business leaders, our political leaders, and really those thought and knowledge seekers not only through Regina, but on a global stage, is so important. At the end of the day, this is about economic development. It always has been. It has been about growth of our community, and we're going to do our best to make sure that happens, even though it's in a virtual space.
That's amazing, and I know a lot of the feedback we have been hearing is great, and excitement that something is coming back. I don't want to open up a wound from last year, but it's something that many had to deal with, canceling shows. So I do want to just maybe talk about what it feels like for you and for the committee going from having to cancel something in 2020 that we were so excited about bringing to the public in person, and then seeing, going through the motions of not sure what we were doing, and now having this announcement out now that it's happening.
Well, I think one of the things we learned in 2020 was we got really good at canceling stuff. Like, we were fantastic at it by the end of the year. And we probably canceled more events than probably anybody in the province. And that was unfortunate. It was hard. And it meant some real sacrifices. It meant people lost their jobs, or people went without work, or businesses really struggled to pay their bills. And we see that everywhere. But I think what we recognize is this is the first step towards recovery. And this is about learning from last year. Mm-hmm. It's about recognizing that we had to make decisions early so that we don't put our partners that are trying to truck equipment to Regina and plan trade show booths and staff accordingly, we don't put them in a compromised place where they're spending money that they don't have in these times. And so we made the decision quickly, but I think we also made the decision that we're still going to promote trade and we're going to celebrate agriculture. And so, it's a little bit different, but this is one step closer to being back to the times that we love and the times that, frankly, for us as an organization, we've been doing for 136 years. And I think there's a glimmer of hope in this. It's not what we want, but it's certainly better than nothing. And it's a heck of a lot better than it was last year, because at least we're talking about opening up and going back to normal.
Absolutely. One step forward, and hopefully we're going to see that just can be a domino effect for us in a good way, not a bad way. Going down.
In a great way.
What do people need to know in terms of registration and all that jazz if they are interested in signing up for the 2-day event?
I think the best part about this is it's free. And so part of this is we recognize times are tough. We know that these are challenging days, and we know that our partners have been there for a long time. Yeah. So this is about business-to-business trade. It's about knowledge sharing. It's about innovation. It's about celebration of our agriculture economy. And so this is about, let's get as many people connected as we possibly can. So go to farmshows.com and register for free. Share it with your friends. Go early, go often, and share it with as many as you can. What's really great about this is we have such a diverse lineup of speakers and leaders in the industry. You really have an opportunity to connect however you may like. So if you want to watch the whole thing for 2 days, go for it. If you want to break it up into pieces, go for it. And if you want to go back and you want to grab pieces of content in the future because it is meaningful at a later date, you'll have that ability too. So farmshows.com, it's absolutely free, and we hope lots of people will tune in.
I think that's the nice thing is that we have been talking about that you can access it now, not only from your home, but from the field or wherever. So the accessibility versus the international visitors who wouldn't otherwise be able to perhaps hop on a plane and fly if we were doing it in person. How important is that international connection?
I think it's critical. And so as we've talked to our ministers and our political leadership, both regionally and provincially and then nationally, what we recognize is we have an ability to showcase the very best in agriculture here. And then we have the ability to take that in a digital form and connect it with the globe. Yeah. And so to your point, we can't travel. We can't hop on a plane the way we used to. And that's unfortunate. And someday we'll be back to better times. But we will always have a need to connect virtually. Yes. Yeah. And I think what this has allowed us to do is to create content now. And we're going to continue to create this content in the future that we can use to sell the very best of Saskatchewan on a global stage. And so ultimately this is about pieces of information, very specific, that we can share with interested clients, which is always what we've tried to do with Farm Show, is connect those looking to sell with those looking to buy for the betterment of the agricultural economy.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining me in studio. We are so excited about Canada Farm Show going virtual this year, June 16th and 17th. You'll probably have a video up there somewhere.
I have no doubt. You know what? I can be the guy washing the tires on the tractors. Like, there's a few skills I have, but I think I could probably handle that.
Thanks so much for joining us, Tim.
If you're looking to add an expert voice to your decision-making process, invite your local Ministry of Agriculture specialist to the table. Located in offices around the province, specialists provide the latest agronomic and programming information and advice tailored to your operation. Contact the Agriculture Knowledge Centre by phone or online to connect with your nearest specialist today.
Connexus Credit Union is proud to support Saskatchewan's agriculture producers. Thank you for your commitment to growing safe, sustainable food and your continued investment in Saskatchewan's communities. From all of us at Connexus, we wish you a safe and prosperous growing season.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Andrew Bawden, and I am the Director of Business Development and Digital Media at Farms.com. If you don't know, Farms.com has been around for about 21 years. We started off, four guys said, hey, how can we help farmers make better decisions on their production and profitability by giving them good tools and information. So they thought, wow, this internet thing 21 years ago, this thing could be cool. So that's how they really started Farms.com. So 21 years ago, we started putting out really good information to help producers make these decisions. Since then, we've grown a ton. We've gotten into the livestock software system with PigChamp, which is reproductive and farrow to finish software. That's in 50 different countries, 12 different languages. We're in the HR side of things with ag careers and careers in food. We farm, so we're either farming about 1,600 acres of corn, soybeans, winter wheat. We have 10 acres of hazelnuts. And then we have the software side of things where we do custom building of software all in agriculture. So basically, if you want to find out about Farms.com and you want to know what we do, we're focused on agriculture and helping people improve in agriculture. Now on to what's new in ag tech. So a couple companies that I got the chance to talk to recently. So one is I got to talk to Todd Orman from TELUS Agriculture. Now we all know TELUS Agriculture. Not everyone knows TELUS Agriculture is out there. Everyone knows TELUS, but not TELUS Agriculture. They launched probably in the fall of that last year. And what TELUS has done is taken advantage of their strength, their database, their data management systems, and then acquire companies that really fit with their profile of what precision agricultural is all about. So companies like Decisive Farming, which is a data management and analytics program where they use their My Platform system to integrate everything in agriculture. Then they also acquired Hummingbird. Hummingbird is one of the leading imagery analytics providers in North America. Some pretty cool technology there as well. And then another company called Ag Integrated, which is a farm management software system. So if you look at all these things, you start putting those all together, you've got a really powerful opportunity for producers to really get the most out of what they do when they're on the farm. And then behind that, you've got TELUS. It's got all the power and the infrastructure to make sure that everything works really well. If you think of TELUS, obviously we know the telecommunication side of things. They also have TELUS Health. So not only do we have, when it comes to ag, we talk about the risk of data security, but TELUS Ag's been behind that for a very long time in the health side of things. So we know that data security is one of the key elements with TELUS Ag. So it's not a concern anymore. They're also working on some other cool stuff. They'll be, right now they're in the row crop, the beef side of things, but they're going to be rolling out into some of the higher value crops and other livestock. So some pretty exciting things coming down the pipe with TELUS. They started off when Todd first started, he was employee 3. They're now 1,200 employees. I believe they're in 6 different countries. So really good growth and a really good fundamental system that they put together to make sure that everything works well. Obviously, with putting on a precision ag conferences, we understand that there's been issues where companies provide something and then they don't have support behind it. This is not going to be an issue with TELUS Agriculture. This is the way they're building this system up, so there is no failure there. Another company that's pretty cool. I think they're originally from Greece, but talked to Kyle from Augmenta. Augmenta has some cool technology, and what they've done is created a scanning system that sits on top of a tractor, and it scans the canopy in real time. So as you're going down the rows, it's scanning the canopy. You've got your sprayer behind you, and it is telling you if there's issues with the canopy. Should it be sprayed or not be sprayed? Should it be variable rated? This is really cool technology. So it allows you to gives you real time reaction to issues that are happening. If you wait for satellite data, that's late. Drone data is expensive, and you can't always get into those specific areas. So this is a really great option. Another thing that's happened with Augmenta is that they've just gone through their Series A funding. So this is some pretty exciting things for them. And now they're going to be probably integrated in part of the Case IH offering. So this is pretty cool for, you'll see some of this stuff coming down the pipe very shortly when you go into your Case dealership. Another thing that they're working on is they're probably going to be rolling out, I guess, in fall, is the ability to do a real-time stand count. So they're going to start with corn and then go to cotton after that. But if you think about the way stand counts are done now, you may do an area and then average, or you may do an estimation based on what you anticipated and what you didn't get the year before, but it's not real. What this is going to be a real stand count. So basically, from somewhere between emergence and D4, they'll be able to do a true stand count, actual stand count of everything that gets planted. So this allows the producer to basically plan what they anticipate yield can be now without any hesitation, and they can also manage their input costs, because if it's lower or higher, you just adjust accordingly, so you're not wasting on input costs. So that's another really cool one. Then I also had a chance to speak with Amber Harrison. Amber's just joined Regrow, and Regrow is a combination of Fluorsat and Dig, and so these are two different technologies that are kind of moving together. So one's kind of the background of all this data analytics, which many companies are using, companies like Climate and lots of other ones out there. So they're using that technology already. So if you're using any one of those platforms, there's a good chance that the background or the guts of what's making this happen is coming from Regrow or Fluorstat data. But another thing they're working on, which I think is really quite interesting, is they're working on some true insights into sustainability. So you can define what sustainability process you're going through and make sure that you're following a platform of sustainability, because there'll be down the road some kind of measurement of, I don't know if it'll be a rating, and the better your sustainable practices are, the better you're going to do as far as costing. I would imagine that'll come down through. It'll be obviously government driven. And then the other thing is they're working on some software that's going to really define your carbon footprint and basically allow you to maximize how your carbon output is going to be reduced. And you can actually maximize your credits that way and also create more profitability on carbon. So that's some cool tools that'll be coming out shortly that'll help farmers gain even more out of what they're doing. So looking forward to seeing you again. Really enjoyed this little chat on what's new with agriculture and ag tech. And till next time, have a great day.
Boost your efficiency and your bottom line with Young's equipment and Case IH tractors, including the cutting-edge Puma 150 CVX and the Maxim 145 with best-in-class efficiency. Check out the Case IH lineup today at Young's Equipment.
IKS Live. IKS Live. Western Canada's premier production services company. LED sign rentals. Video production. Event management. Look no further than IKS Live. Visit our website. IKS Live. Always the best seat in the house. IKS Live.
Recently, AgriStability announced some changes were coming in effect quite soon and would be affecting a number of those in the ag industry. Joining me to talk a little bit more in depth of those changes is a manager with AgriStability with Saskatchewan Crop Insurance Corporation is Ray Graneveld. Thank you so much for joining us, Ray.
Well, thanks for the opportunity today.
I feel like I said a mouthful there, but I guess before we get into the changes, Ray, what is AgriStability for those who might not be familiar with what you're all about?
For sure. So AgriStability is one of the risk management programs that's available for Saskatchewan farmers to take advantage of to help offset some of the risks, the uncontrollable risks that they face in their day-to-day work as an industry. AgriStability, though, is built around margins. It's built around the farm's historical financial performance and provides coverage for those deep losses that a farm might experience for things like rising commodity prices, declining commodity prices, rising input costs, and other uncontrollable factors that can affect the farm. AgriStability is there to kick in when that whole farm margin situation turns negative and they really have a financial struggle on the farm. AgriStability can provide that support when those situations happen on the farm.
Certainly an important path or important access for those who may need it, especially in a time of need, especially over the past year or so when we have seen globally how the COVID pandemic has affected so many. So let's get right into it, Ray. What are these changes that we can expect to see?
So the announcement that was made by ministers recently was one of the calculations that was involved in the AgriStability program, called the reference margin limit, is now going to be removed from the benefit calculation. And really what this does for Saskatchewan farmers, it's about providing more equitable coverage through the AgriStability program. And it makes sure that all farms are treated equitably under the program, and we're comparing the same things for each farming operation, giving them some better coverage. What they also announced was that this change is retroactive to the 2020 program year. So farmers are already enrolled because we're through 2020. Those farmers that were in for 2020 will see the benefit of this change. And then going forward into 2021, right through to 2023, this change will apply. And then the other thing that was announced is, because this is new and something they want farmers to consider, they have extended the deadline for enrollment. Normally it's April 30th. Now producers will have until June 30th this year to enroll in the 2021 AgriStability program.
So they got some time. Ray, you touched on why or what these changes actually mean for farmers, but what was the reason behind making this change?
Yeah, the reference margin limit is a calculation that was brought in 2013. And what it did was it takes the lower of, and while it is a bit complicated in terms of the way it works, it looks at the historical picture of the farm, and it uses the lower of what we're going to be using now, which is what we call a conventional reference margin, which is all the income and expenses and accrual adjustments on a farm. We calculate what we call a margin, and that is what the farm's coverage is based on. What the RML did was use the lower of that conventional reference margin or the average of their allowable expenses. And so for farms that had low allowable expenses, it pushed down the coverage that they had available under the agri-stability program. So by removing that, it brings all those farms that had those low allowable expenses back up, and they will have a conventional reference margin, the same as other farms in the program. A really big benefit because they get greater coverage, and it will push some of those farms that might not have had the opportunity to get a benefit because they had low expenses into a better opportunity to have deeper coverage under the agri-stability program.
So, Ray, you've mentioned, obviously we know that agri-stability is available to those in the ag industry, especially farmers. Is there a larger group that this would affect, or is it just those that are enrolled or part of agri-stability?
So any farmer can enroll in agri-stability. But as I mentioned, the change really affects those farms that had low expense structures, just the way the program was designed. So we see it actually across all farm types in Saskatchewan. Ones that will notice the difference for sure, cow-calf operations were significantly impacted, organic farms, but even a lot of our traditional grain and oilseed farms will see a benefit as a result of this change. So it's good news all around. It creates equity on the program and simplicity. There's only one margin we're worrying about now, or that farmers have to understand. So it adds some simplicity to the program as well, which we hope farmers will appreciate as well.
So I'm glad you clarified that better than I asked that question, because I know there's obviously the dryland farming. We see, cattle. There's so many different options and different categories. So I'm glad you touched on that. It might be easier for me to ask this question than for you to answer. What are people going to notice? Is it going to be a huge difference? Is it going to be a huge change for them when they look at what they have already enrolled with you?
That's really hard to say, because the one benefit of the agri-stability program is it is completely individualized to each farming operation. So we are looking at every farm's individual financial structure. And so what happens on one farm doesn't happen on another farming operation. As you know, they're all different, and the way they structure their farms. So really what we would encourage producers to do is look at their previous, if they were in the program, kind of their previous, what we call calculation of benefits. It shows how all the numbers played out. And then going forward, they can take a look at what has changed and how this might impact and provide that deeper coverage. But, we're available to have those conversations. If our producers are wondering, what is this going to do to my farm?
Yeah.
We have 21 offices across the province. We have people that can sit down, pull up their history, bring up the numbers, and look at what this is going to do to their farming operation. So really good question. It's just really individualized to each farming operation.
And I guess that was going to be my next question, but you did answer it in terms of it's so individualized, it's hard to really kind of say it's going to be one lump sum of a change that you'll see. But is there something that producers or farmers can do in terms of maybe if they lower their expenses, or if they can adjust themselves? Is that something that you would encourage them contacting you to make those changes to see how they can be better impacted?
Yeah, so we're about providing the program to the farmers and make sure they understand how it can provide protection for their farms.
Right.
How farms make management decisions is completely up to them. The program's really about providing that backstop should things like they have increased expenses, feed costs go up, fertilizer, pesticide, all that sort of thing. That's out of their control. World market issues happen, trade issues happen. That's when agri-stability is designed to kick in, is to provide that coverage when those uncontrollable things happen. So we can definitely talk with producers how those things can impact their margins and explain that, and when that might be enough to push them into a benefit position, and when it might not be enough to push them into a benefit situation. So we can definitely have those conversations, but it's really up to the farmer how they manage their farm and what they do in terms of their production and their expenses for their operation.
Absolutely. And again, case in point, those changes would have or could have possibly happened over the past year with many people having to pivot or change the ways that they are producing or functioning over the past year. Again, real quick, Ray, could you let us know again when that deadline is for those who may be interested in getting more involved with AgriStability?
For sure. Yeah, the deadline has been extended to June 30th. And as I mentioned, we've got 21 offices across the province, our Saskatchewan Crop Insurance Corporation offices. Producers can contact any of them to initiate those discussions. We have a call center, a toll-free call center, which is available through our website. You can find the toll-free number there at scic.ca. And all we really need is for the producer to initiate that conversation. If they just make that phone call prior to June 30th to say, hey, I'm interested in AgriStability, we'll consider you having met the deadline. We can start the discussions, run the numbers for you, and really begin that process. We just need them to get a hold of us by June the 30th.
Oh, that's perfect and really good to know. So it's not like you have to have anything signed or anything, your name kind of sealed up in anything before June 30th. It's as long as they initiate the conversation.
You betcha. Then we can work through and get the historical information we need and talk to the producer about the coverage. Just want to make sure that they indicate, yeah, I'm interested in the program, and then we can start the process with them.
Perfect. Thank you so much for filling us in on all this new information that I'm sure many will want to know more about. Thank you again, Ray. You have yourself a great night.
Yeah, you have a great day too, and thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
This is unprecedented.
Initial report. We just don't know what tomorrow will bring.
Grandma! Oh, it's so good to see your face.
Writing in chalk spreads messages of hope throughout the city.
All right. Is everyone dialed in?
I think we've proved that just by keeping on, pulling together, staying positive, we can get through anything. Turn your hate into poetry, pain into power, enemies to friends, and your minutes into hours.
One of the guests we will be seeing at Canada's Farm Show 2021 virtual event on June 16th and 17th is Leslee Kelly. And I think many of you would recognize her from her Twitter handle, High Heel and Canola Field, or High Heel. Let me get that right now. Leslie, can you just tell me that? High heel and canola fields?
High heels and canola fields.
There we go. It's my favorite thing, and I just mixed it up. That's okay. I think many would recognize her from her Twitter handle, but also just an advocate when it comes to the egg industry and mental health. We've chatted before in the past, and I'm so excited to connect with you again, Leslie. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's so great to have coffee with another person.
Even when it's virtual, but it seems like that's the way the world is going these days. So I'll take it, if you will.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get, there's so many different aspects that we can talk about. I mean, obviously it's the egg industry that we're going to connect with, as you are a farmer and the co-founder of Do More Egg, which we'll get more into in just a little bit. For those who may not be familiar, and when I say that, I want to say you got to really be hidden somewhere in a small field if you don't know who Leslie is. Leslie, could you introduce yourself a little on how you got started with the mental health initiatives?
Yeah, I farm with my family at Watrous, so just an hour south of Saskatoon or a couple hours north of Regina. And we moved back from Alberta about 10 years ago in hopes of furthering our farming careers, joining my family farm. And around that same time, when we were joining the farm, it started to rain. And it didn't stop. And I saw my husband go through some really hard times with anxiety. He started having panic attacks just with the farm going into financial distress, being away from his family. We have 2 young boys and the pressures of farm life. And it was then when he started to go through those really hard times and struggles that we realized we needed to do something different on our farm within our family. So we started to have more conversations about mental health, really go along the lines of what it means for us to be mentally well and physically well. And after conversations online with some fellow farmers in Saskatchewan, and my husband and I opening up about our mental health journey, we realized, wow, we weren't the only ones going through such a hard time. So that's when we decided to co-found Do More Egg a few years ago. It's our 3-year anniversary.
Oh, happy anniversary. And honestly, it just doesn't even seem like it's that, it feels like it should have been or could have been around a lot longer. You know, you mentioning doing the research and talking about it and becoming more open about it. There are so many people that are dealing with these same issues that your husband was dealing with. And I think the stigma around mental health, obviously we've heard a lot about it, especially during this entire year with the global pandemic. We're hearing more conversations happening. But then you hear about the stigmas in the, you know, sports world, men in general. But for you and your family, it was not only men, but also in the ag industry. What shocked you about hearing about how many people were also dealing or had dealt with the similar things that you and your family were going through?
Yeah, because we thought that we were alone in our struggles and thought that, you know, because of the farm going through a hard time, that made us not good farmers. And it was hearing other people's stories and people going through those hard times and looking for hope and looking to see that they weren't, or know that they weren't alone. For us, that was just the realization that, wow, this stigma and our farmers going through a hard time is widespread, not only in Canada, but really around the world. And when my husband and I were talking about, why haven't we been sharing about our hardships? And it was through conversations of, what people might think, what our friends and family might think, but it was also more than that. It was, could this impact our insurance? Could this impact our rented land? Like, what would our landlords think? And, what would people within the community think? So right then and there, we thought, wow, that's that stigma that prevents so many of us from raising our hands, because it's not only, the personal side, but within agriculture, we thought that it would impact our business. But through sharing our stories, we realized that, none of those are fears of speaking out. None of those happened, which is it was very humbling for the positive reception and the support that we got through sharing.
You just touched on it, getting that support and the positive reception, being open and honest. And I think that's usually what helps others start to open up and share their stories when they see someone being just as genuine as you have been with your story. What other kind of feedback have you gotten from those in the ag industry when it comes to mental health in the ag industry in general?
Oh, what I've been learning is that, all of us, our mental health journeys are very different, but they're all important. And knowing that, what we're going through, our feelings and emotions, the times that we need help, that we're all different, but your story and your feelings and your emotions matter just as much as someone else. And that path to mental wellness or taking care of yourself also looks different. And for us, it was learning that even though our roads are different or our paths are different, is that we can help save or even change a life by helping someone through those hard times, whether that's yourself or someone else that, your neighbor, someone online, someone within your community, reaching out, talking, asking, listening, doing some small things can make big impacts on someone else.
I mentioned it earlier with regards to the global pandemic. And obviously the ag world is very unique. Like you mentioned, it's personal and business that gets connected when it comes to the pressures and the mental health issues that many may deal with. Have you noticed a big change when that global pandemic also gets incorporated into the ag world?
Yeah, with the pandemic, it's impacted or affected us in so many different ways where, I've seen some farmers thrive through the pandemic, and then I've seen some go through some really, really hard times. It's impacted our personal lives. And then depending on the sector that you're in or where you're located, it could be impacting your farm and your business as well. So for us, I know when the pandemic started, for us at Do More, it was, what can we do to really help our farmers through this? If if ag events are gone and we can't meet socially at the hockey rink or at the curling rink, what can we do? And through the resources and, bringing workshops virtually to farmers to give them the tools and the strategies and the confidence to have those conversations and to take care of themselves has really, really helped.
So you just mentioned it with the Do More Ag website. Can you maybe explain a little bit more to those who won't be familiar with it? What is Do More Ag all about?
Yeah, Do More Ag we're a not-for-profit that started 3 years ago, and our goal is to champion the mental health of all of our Canadian farmers and farm families. And we do that by creating awareness about mental health, building community through resources and support, and then bringing resources and support to our communities and farmers who are going through a hard time.
So I feel like it's kind of a given when you think about what kind of supports could be offered for those dealing with mental health issues. But for those who maybe, haven't felt comfortable coming forward with something that they're dealing with, because, as much as we always talk about and encourage everyone to share their stories and that it's okay to not be okay, what types of suggestions or tips would you have for some of those who may be watching right now, dealing with something and unsure of where to even begin when it comes to getting help?
Yeah, my husband and I were in the same boat, 10 years ago, where we didn't know much about mental health and we weren't aware of what was going on or how to have conversations, how to start conversations. I was a person who I thought I had to say the right thing. And if I didn't know what that right thing was, then I didn't ask. And I don't think I was the best of a support person that I could have been, but it was learning through my husband and ourselves in that journey. We really realized, about where we are when it comes to mental health, where we are on that spectrum. We do exercises on the farm. We have a tailgate check-in and we share our stress number, 1 to 10, with 1 being low and 10 being high, because then if I know if other people on the farm are going through a hard time or their stress is high, then we can help support each other. For my family and I was also knowing what our baseline is for our mental health. I know what my baseline is and I know what my family's baseline, but if we started to, feel that we were outside of that baseline, that's when we also started to have conversations or reflect on where we were at. And then for us, that's really helped is, I'm a fixer. I try to go in there and fix everything, and I was saying those things with my husband when he was up in the middle of the night, going through extreme anxiety, just saying, just go to bed and sleep it off and it'll be better tomorrow. And now knowing, or like I even said, you should do this, you could have done this. And for me, it was realizing how the things that I could do to be a better listener and a better support person. And by sitting there with him, letting him know that I care for him, and no matter what, I was going to help him through this journey. So by doing those things, it really helped our farm and our family come together, understanding where we are when it comes to mental health and those small things that we can do to support each other. My husband and I figured out some things, to help us proactively take care of our mental health, but for each of us, it's also different. Yeah. So it was that journey of discovery, because when Matt was having his panic attacks, I kept asking him, what do you need? What can I do for you? And he said, I don't know what I need. And that was where we made ourselves a priority, our marriage a priority through that hard time.
And that's, I think, the bulk of it right there, Leslie, is that you don't get that information until you start opening up and talking about it. Even, you saying the suggestions of, well, you're fine, or sleep it off, you'll be okay. I think a lot of people don't even understand that that's not actually helping or fixing the situation. But again, like you said, turning around and saying, how can I help? What can I do? And that's basically some of the important things that many people probably need to hear, especially during this time. Where can people find out more information, or what more is on the website that you think would be ideal for those who would probably take a look at your website before wanting to maybe open up? What would be some resources on the website that would help them?
Well, we know that there are lots of barriers and challenges in helping someone open up to what they're going through. It took my husband over 10 years to really share his world and the weight and the pressures that were going on. So knowing that we're all different in our journeys, that on our website you can find a variety of resources. And what we're trying to do at Do More is bring those resources that know and understand agriculture, those mental health professionals that know the day in the life of a farmer, and for someone to open up and have the courage to open up, for someone to then know that world, can make a world of difference. You can also find a whole bunch of content and information about mental health and relate it back to agriculture. And then also you can sign up. There's 2 more workshops happening in April for our Talk, Ask, Listen workshop. That is a mental health workshop. It's 3 to 4 hours where you can learn strategies and tips and tools of how to take care of yourself, and it's specific to agriculture.
Perfect. Something that many people could probably check out right on your website. We're going to have the website come up on the screen, but for those who are probably tuning in while they're maybe making dinner right now, it's domore.ag, right?
Yeah, domore.ag.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Leslie, for joining us. Is there any parting words you have for those that are tuning in for our viewers?
Yeah, know that it's okay to not be okay, and that you are loved and cared for, and there are people and resources out there to get you through a hard time.
Thank you so much, Leslie. Looking forward to connecting with you again at Canada's Farm Show virtual event, which is going to be on June 16th and 17th. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks. And that's it for April's edition of Farm Show TV. We had a lot of information coming at you this month. Of course, we don't want you to forget that Canada's Farm Show 2021 is going virtual this year. You can find out all the information at canadasfarmshow.com and continue to follow Canada's Farm Show social channels to find out the information when it comes to programming. We'll release more information weekly on Fridays, so check them out on social media. And of course, thanks to all our guests for joining us for this month's episode of Farm Show TV. We'll see you again next month.
Dick coming to you from Tufnell here today with another episode of Saskatchewan Things, where we look at some of the great things that happen here in the best province in the world to live in. Saskatchewan Things. Gambling does not involve going to the casino, it just involves seeing how many steps into the slough you can take without getting a boot full. Sometimes you lose. Saskatchewan Things. Why do kids from Saskatchewan know how to drive so good? Because they spent the first half of their life backing up a post pounder. Saskatchewan Things. If you missed your last corner because you were too busy snooping to what the neighbor had going on in their yard, you can always go a mile down the road instead of turning around and go around the block. Thank you, Grid Road System. Saskatchewan Things. Sometimes you skip the process of having a post made out of a tree and just directly use the tree as a post. Saskatchewan Things. There's 2 types of races agricultural technicians face here. 1 is to be the first one to the field. 2 is to see if you can get your fence checked before it is plagued with wood ticks. This is Quick Dick McDick signing off, reminding you a smile to your face is what it usually brings when you start talking about Saskatchewan Things. Catch you next time.